Now, the other day I put up a poll asking how everyone out there was feeling about the upcoming game Star Wars Outlaws. Do you think it looks good or not? Are you planning on buying it and playing it or not? And the plan originally for today, or yesterday actually, was to make a video discussing those poll results and then to read and respond to a few comments like I usually do when I put up a poll. But a few things have kind of happened since then, since putting up that poll. For one, the results on it, as you can see now on your screen, well, they were pretty heavily skewed to the negative side of things, and most of the comments, the vast majority of them, had something to say about why they don't like or trust Ubisoft as a company, why they're skeptical or simply won't be buying or playing the game, or maybe will down the road when it becomes much cheaper and all the bugs are finally worked out. And though I certainly won't say that response was unwarranted given Ubisoft's track record and the revealed pricing structure for the game that sees day one content being hidden behind a paywall and called a season pass for reasons, or for greed I should say. Either way, I didn't really see the point or feel like making a video that would more or less just kind of bash the game. There are literally thousands of other videos on YouTube at this point that have done that, and one more from me, a video destroying the game if you will, wouldn't make things any better or worse. And speaking of YouTube, the other thing that's happened recently that's made me maybe rethink a few things or have to adjust whether I like it or not is my other channel here on YouTube, Thor Skywalker Plus, which many of you know I run with my wife. Well, I learned yesterday morning that it has been demonetized and my appeal was already rejected. And the reason given to us was reused content. They basically told us, I think no detailed explanation was actually given, that we're too repetitive over there, even though what we mainly do is cover the news, the ever-changing daily news around Star Wars and other related things. And though, in all honesty, I feel a combination of sadness and anger right now, a lot of love and hard work has gone into that channel, especially by my wife, and no, we are not going to abandon it or anything. We will continue to make videos even though we won't make money off of it. Anyway, though I could react very negatively to it and embrace that anger and talk about how outrageous and unfair this all is, I choose not to. I choose to respond a different way. Thanks in no small part to the many great people on my Discord server, those who support me on Patreon, who have become really good friends of mine and help remind me what I'm really here to do, which is to build something, to create something. Not to get angry and destroy, not to become a Sith, essentially. Because, I mean, destruction is easy. We can all do it, right? We can all get mad and lash out or tear something or someone down, and generally it takes little or no effort or talent or skill, and it risks very little. But to create something, that usually isn't easy and it risks much, not the least of which is rejection or apathy towards it. It sucks to put something out there that no one likes or cares about, and it hurts and makes you want to give up. Or if you are successful to some degree, maybe a large degree, others can and eventually will try to destroy what you've created for any number of reasons, or maybe for no reason at all, just because they can or want to. And for a while now, years actually, I've been talking in my videos from time to time about how I want to focus more on creating stuff, or even starting something sort of grand with other like-minded individuals who also want to just create something. And as a lot of you know or remember, several years back now, started this Star Wars sequel trilogy project that kind of fizzled out because, well, to be blunt and honest, in large part because of poor leadership on my part. I bit off more than I could chew, and I just wasn't ready to kind of tackle a project like that. Though I do still want to share the little bits we did create, and will do that in the near future. The people who worked very hard on it deserve to have what they created shown. But anyway, as a lot of you also know, I do Star Wars fan fictions. That kind of was the inspiration behind creating my own sequel trilogy. And my fanfictions are my favorite videos to do by far, even if they are not necessarily my most watched videos. Those ones, the ones that are most watched or get the most views, they do tend to be the ones that, well, kind of tear into Disney Star Wars. And though I absolutely appreciate the people who are here to listen to me, mainly just tear into Disney Star Wars when they deserve it, I appreciate the comments you all leave and your own thoughts and insights on the matter, and having a discussion about it and all of that good stuff. I am grateful for every single person that watches any videos of mine, but to be honest, the most rewarding comments to get are the ones on my fanfictions or story videos, whatever you want to call them, that simply say they liked the story, or that they like what I created, or maybe that it even meant something to them. And this is all actually one of the reasons, maybe the main reason when it boils right down to it, why I do sometimes get mad at Disney Star Wars and make those angry rant videos. Well, maybe not rant videos, but angry and ranty for me, I suppose. I do it because it doesn't feel like Star Wars exists to truly mean anything anymore, to be a set of stories that we can take something away from beyond however many minutes of pure visual and audio enjoyment it may offer to us. That it exists simply to make money, to take advantage of the fans who already love it. And though, yeah, I complain about it and have been complaining about it for many, many years at this point across many, many videos, I don't really do anything about it, do I? Not really, anyway. Not anything that's going to bring about any potential actual change. And I mean, sure, maybe someday Disney will listen to the angry side, the hateful side of the Star Wars fandom, and try to actually figure out why they are actually upset and kind of right the ship. Not that I think everything Disney Star Wars is terrible. Yes, there is some good stuff, as I have mentioned before. But in general, it does feel like there is this lack of genuine care and desire to truly create meaningful stories out of Disney and Lucasfilm these days. And I think we can all agree that the best stories generally don't come from giant corporations that have a fiduciary responsibility to make money for their shareholders and then try to engineer content for their platforms or to put in a movie theater. They instead come from people who want to tell stories because they feel like they have a responsibility to those who want to immerse themselves in the stories. And so for a while now, I've had this really stupid idea in my head, I think. One that honestly I have no idea if it makes any sense or if it would ever work or how I would even begin to make it happen. It is an idea to change the very meaning of the term shared universe from something that is, again, owned by major corporations that crank out content primarily to make money for those shareholders of theirs, to instead having it mean or creating a place or more of a concept, I suppose. I don't even know, again, how to articulate this. But it would be something that is owned essentially by no one. Or maybe I should say that is completely open license that anyone is allowed to tell stories in or create games in or whatever else it might be in terms of content, though I don't like that word. It is meant to be stories. Because I think someone would, yes, technically have to own the IP, or anyone could essentially claim it as their own and screw over everyone else. I am no expert on this, and I'm sure there are many things that I have yet to think about or that would need to be figured out legally before this ever became an actual thing, if it's even a good idea in the first place, which I'll begin to learn soon enough, I suppose, in the comments below if anyone thinks this is good or not, or just crazy and stupid. Anyway, not worrying too much about the legal details right now or how stupid this may sound, though if you are an expert in this sort of thing, if you are a legal expert, a lawyer, and you want to throw your 2 cents in, feel free to do that in the comments below. I'd very much appreciate it, or you can contact me at the email address in the description below. Anyway, I certainly realize there are already things like this that basically exist. There are already essentially IPs that do not have an owner or that have become public domain. For example, anyone can make their own version of Alice in Wonderland and make their own shared universe out of it if they really want to, so you'd be right to ask how this might be any different. Also, one of the first issues you're probably going to think of with something like this is something I complain about quite often on this channel, that being the canon or the lore. It is just going to be an utter mess with zero consistency because you can't get everyone who wants to tell a story in this kind of shared universe to be on the exact same page. Things are, of course, going to contradict, and in no time again, it will be a jumbled mess of absolute nonsense. And so, without getting too much into detail just yet, again, I'd appreciate feedback on the general idea before I go into specifics. But how it would work, in a nutshell, is I would, not to sound full of myself, but I would start the world or universe off with a single story or a couple stories that would basically lay the foundation or rules for the way this universe works. In general, anyway. There'd be flexibility with these rules, of course. And this opening story would even explain how and why there could be and are multiple iterations of it. In other words, why not all stories perfectly align, without it just being a multiverse explanation. In fact, in some ways, this idea is kind of the exact opposite of a multiverse, but learning how and why would come with the actual story. Trust me, it's hopefully, I think, a pretty unique idea. Either way, these different iterations very much would be or could be relevant and connected to each other, which I've already, again, long since figured out how and why that would be the case, how it could all work. I have been thinking about this for a very long time, actually. And yes, no surprise, there is some Star Wars influence here, though by no means will this be anything close to a straight ripoff of Star Wars. Don't worry about that. Anyway, I would start with one story, or again, a couple stories, and people are then free to take that idea and explore it in any number of ways. Though yes, other stories by other people could be set in the very same iteration as mine, a continuation of my story. That would actually be kind of part of the plan, or one of the real hopes here, that many things or stories could be sort of fit into the same main or prime version, you could call it. One that is carefully curated or kept track of, so there are no inconsistencies, at least within it. And at times, there could be reveals or stories in this kind of main timeline that could have ripples into the other stories, which, again, you'd have to know the full idea to understand how that would work. Though sure, others would be absolutely free to create their own completely or mostly completely unique versions of it as well. However you want to do it, it would be up to you, the creator of these stories, and yeah, you'd be free to profit off it as much as you want or can. And speaking of that aspect of it, one of my hopes would be to, yes, make money off of this, but not in order to appease shareholders or for myself to become filthy rich. Quite honestly, I have little or no interest in becoming rich and famous, though sure, a little more money than I have now would be nice, especially with my second channel down for the count. But instead, this would be to, first and foremost, create something that has meaning, that has universal themes that we can all relate to and that we can all share. Again, I want this to be a shared universe in more ways than it has relevancy to each other or different parts of content relate to each other. I would love for this to somehow grow into something truly special. And then also, if it is somehow profitable, and very much so, I would want to help other genuine creators who want to be a part of this for all the right reasons create whatever they want to create with it or out of it, or even to start their own unique shared universe different from mine. That is the real hope and plan here, to take the power of story away from major corporations who only care about their shareholders, and to give it back to the people who just want to tell stories to other people who love stories. To once again give the term shared universe a whole new meaning. Well, that is all I have for you this time. And yes, I am still going to be doing Star Wars videos, and plenty of them on this channel and on the other one. And I desperately want to get back to doing fan fictions. I'm kind of working on one right now, but I am also going to write my own story one way or another. Even if this is the dumbest idea ever, I'm still going to write my own story and let people think what they will of it, I suppose. But anyway, if you have made it this far into the video, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it, I really do. As I'd also appreciate you taking to the comments to tell me what you think about this idea. And if this doesn't sound completely insane, I will in the very near future go into more details about all of this, or try to start to plan it out better as well. But either way, for now, thank you for watching.